Hey everyone, happy Saturday. Shawnta Jackson here. My purpose in life is to help people to help themselves and others. And I do that by bringing on guests who are thought-provoking, inspiring, and who can share resources with us. And also I try to do the same. And I appreciate you, the viewers, for also always contributing to this platform and for asking insightful, inquisitive questions, but also for providing your contribution as well. We are streaming live on both Facebook and YouTube. So as always, we look forward to your questions and comments. My next guest is someone very special to me. She's a phenomenal woman, and I'm pretty sure she chooses to surround herself with other phenomenal women, and we'll ask her about that as well. Her name is Nicola Mitchell, and Nicola is Jamaican born, but she lives here in the States. I'll tell you a little bit about our connection with Las Vegas, but she actually lives in Atlanta, Georgia, and she is a CEO, a founder of a nonprofit organization, Girls Who Brunch, or actually Girls Who Brunch Tour, and she's helped to empower and equip and impact over 24,000 girls nationwide. She's a best-selling author. She's penned 17 novels, published 125 titles, and she's helped over 1,000 authors, independent authors, and publishers publish their books successfully. So everyone, please at this time, welcome Nicola Mitchell.
Hi.
Hey. Hey girl, how are you today?
I am good. So happy to be here with you, beautiful.
Thank you. I hope I did well with the intro. And so what I do is I just try to remember everything in my mind and try not to look or read from anything. So I try to do my research on all of my guests, and I thank you for joining me today. And as I mentioned, you and I, we have a connection, but we didn't know this. So how we originally connected, myself, I'm also a first-time self-published author, and so I was pitching myself and my book for speaking engagements, and I actually reached out to you for Girls Who Brunch Tour to serve as a guest speaker, and I did. I think it was Chicago. I spoke to the girls in Chicago, I believe. I think that was.
He spoke in DC, DMV.
Okay, the DMV. So I had the opportunity to speak to the girls, and thank you so much for inviting me to your platform. And then we started talking, and we were like, okay, let's exchange phone numbers. Fine. And then I saw your text, and it was 702. Then mine's 702. I'm like, wait a minute, you're from Las Vegas? And then we started piecing things together, and I'm like, oh, I went to Rancho High School. You're like, oh, I know these people from Rancho. So we kind of know some of the same people, but we never knew each other in the same city.
Crazy.
Yes. And so what made you leave Las Vegas?
Well, I was on tour. By that time I moved, I was on tour for like 4 or 5 years, and I always thought about moving. But my daughter, she has optic nerve disorder, and she has optic nerve intrusions and a mass on her brain. And we moved to Atlanta for her medical treatment, actually.
Okay, but you're thriving in Atlanta.
Yeah, it was like the best. It was the best decision after the fact.
Okay, so tell me, when you say you were on tour doing what?
I was on a full book tour. So I used to do like a 50, 60 city book tour every year. And I released my first book Over and Over Again in 2009. And ever since then, I was just on the ground running. So I would come to like Atlanta and be here for 10 days. I'm going to events around the Atlanta area. I will fly into the DMV, and I will be doing events in the DMV area. So I'll go to a city for 10 days or 2 weeks and just circulate that area. And in the beginning, I was just like guerrilla marketing. I was just going into cities. I would book speaking engagements everywhere. And then I would go into like the radio station with donuts, with my book titles, and with flyers and bookmarks, and we'll say thank you from Over and Over Again, or whatever the title was. And that's how I became known. A lot of people think, oh, you just write a book and you're just gonna become a bestseller. No, like I would go into a city, go into beauty salons, barbershops, like, hey, how you doing? Here's some cards. Da, 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 da. I'm selling my book out the trunk for $5, $10, whatever. And I guerrilla market it for the first year and a half. And then I start getting paid speaking engagements.
You know what? I like that you shared that because you've penned 17 novels, and I know you have a book coming up in August, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But you've written 17 books just for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And just where you're at, just even your accolades. So for those of you who don't know, Nicola, she won the 2020, or she's an awardee of the 2020 George H.W. Bush Points of Light Award, 2020 Civility for the Girl Child Initiative Honoree, L'Oreal Paris 2019 Woman of Worth, Forbes list as a change maker in 2019, and Black Enterprise in 2015. They put you on their list for the 5 follow-worthy bloggers to watch. And so, and that's just my last accolade that I mentioned was 2015. And like you said, you were grinding and kind of putting in the work before that. And so I think it's important for people to understand. And then even me, I mean, you helped me with, so my book is self-published. I had no idea how to write a book. And I think I did, I know I did. I did really good. I did really good for the first time, but I didn't have the opportunity to have mentorship. I would just watch videos and just read advice from other authors who started off as independent and they were successful, self-published, and I have a background in PR marketing. And so I applied that and I understood their language and what they were talking about as far as the phases of marketing, which you should be marketing your book when you're writing it. So it's before it's released. It's not, hey, my book's for sale, or I have pre-orders. There's a whole process with it. So I appreciate you sharing that, because a lot of people just think that, okay, like you said, I can just release a book. But a lot of people at the same time, they don't like to share their grind and the grime behind it. Could you share with us some of your mistakes that you've made along the way and things you've learned from?
I will, but before I share that, I wanted to share something with you I've been waiting to tell you. So I do appreciate you saying that I helped you with the book, because unless somebody puts it out there, I usually keep it kind of personal. People don't know all the books that I've helped with. And when we had that conversation with your book, I was going through a process of something. I was doing a government contract, and my team had kind of messed up. And we were on the phone and I was a little distracted. And you're like, what's going on? And I said, I got to rewrite this whole thing, but whatever you need, I'm like trying to rush you off the phone. And you were like, hey, get on Zoom with me in an hour. And we had an hour and a half conversation. Like, she gave me a crash course for dummies on how to do a grant, a government contract. And I appreciate you saying it, because it was real. You were like, you know what, you made this easy, because I understood what you were saying, not having to be for dummies. But y'all, she gave me a crash course in an hour and a half, legit. We won $25,000 yesterday. Yeah! And yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So the press release is going to go out this week coming up. But yeah, and we probably could have got more, but it was so many sections, and you told me the main topics and main points I need to have in here, and I rewrote everything, and it had to be in by 1:00 that evening or whatever. And yeah, got awarded yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, I found out.
Thank you for sharing that. And you see how things just work full circle. Like I said, we never even knew each other. We lived in the same city. We knew the same people in the same area. Never came in contact, at least not so. I don't recall us ever meeting each other. We connect through me reaching out to you to serve as a guest speaker. And as you mentioned, I'm reaching out to you because I need some mentorship and I need some help about the best way for my personal brand and for my book. but you're at the same time, coincidentally, you're writing for something that's in my field of expertise that I know about. So what we did is we bartered. I helped you and you helped me. And so now today my book is, in addition to me selling it on my website and autograph copies, it's also available on Barnes and Noble, Amazon, and Walmart.com. So thank you for that.
Books a million everywhere. So yes, ma'am. So
Thank
you. And so that goes into what your original question was, what mistakes were made. And honestly, the mistakes that I did make in the beginning was listening to the wrong people. So we sometimes see people on social media and think they're masters of their craft, right? Because they're just bragging about it. They got all these posts, they're doing all these things. But when you really sit down and listen to them, they really don't know. They just know the surface level. They know what Google has provided, but they really do not have any expertise. But we will pay them all this money because they invested into their brand by the posts, the flyers, everything else, but they really don't know. And true people who are masters of their craft is not bragging about it, being bragatory or talking about it. They're doing it every day behind the scenes. And so in the beginning, I was listening to more people who really didn't know how to help me grow. And I was watching videos and things like that, just like what you said. And so I'm happy I did that, but I invested money, time, and energy in people who really did not know how to grow my brand. And so the first thing I had to learn was watch who was my competition. So no, the next self-published author wasn't my competition. Zane is my competition. Mary B. Morrison is my competition, because these people are living completely off of books. They're not doing anything else. And so I started figuring out how to be like them. But that first year was all over the place. So that was my biggest mistake, was listening to the social media guru, per se, of the day.
Okay, I have a response for that, but first I want to check in with my audience. We have Kevin. Kevin Lang is checking in from Las Vegas. He says, good morning. And Roosevelt is watching from Virginia, I believe Alexandria, or is it Woodbridge, Virginia, Roosevelt, but he's checking in from Virginia, and he was just clapping his hands and giving accolades for when you said that you actually were awarded, or Girls Who Brunch were awarded the $25,000 grant. And Kevin has jokes. He was like, oh man, sorry, Rancho.
I know, right? That's what I said too, Kevin. I was like, dang, you went to Rancho?
For one semester, freshman year. And then, so for anyone who's watching from Las Vegas, so y'all know, so all the Donna Street girls wanted to fight me. And so one day I just happened to not go to school, and I came back to school the next day, and they were like, all these girls from Donna Street came. And so I ended up transferring to Valley High School my second semester. So I graduated from Valley. And yeah, Rancho is interesting. It was a good experience. I mean, it's where I'm from. I'm from the east side of Las Vegas. But yeah, Rancho was a little ratchet.
Yeah. I mean, hey, it is what it is. Now it's a magnet school, so praise God, you know, he makes things move and work. And that's beautiful that the kids in that area can now just grandfatherly go, not just have to be accepted. So yeah.
Yeah, that's
kudos,
good.
Rancho evolution.
That's right. And my dad graduated from Rancho High School as well, so I was proud to go there for that reason. And so we have Violet Sage checking in from LA. And then we have my mother watching from Las Vegas, and she says, good morning, beautiful queens. Good morning to you, and congratulations on your accomplishments, and happy Women's Month.
Peace, queen. Good morning.
So what you were saying about the following the gurus, I'm actually in the process of, I've started, I don't know what to write about. I've started different topics, and I'm trying to follow, I'm trying to be still and be quiet and just kind of follow what naturally comes to me as far as writing, because I have so many ideas, and it's just like, which is the next best step, and you only can do one thing at a time.
Right.
So just kind of focus. And so in addition to writing, my business, Cause Engagement Associates, which is It's doing fine. It's my bread and butter. But what I naturally want to do is just spend more time growing and investing in my personal brand and growing this platform and doing different things. And so I actually tried to hire a publicist. That was one of the hardest things. And so I've reached out to different publicists and agents and people that are affiliated with the big names that we know in speaking or in writing. And they're like, oh yeah, I was chief of staff or CEO of this for this person and this. And then once you, just the process of trying to schedule with them and the no shows, no call, like we literally have a meeting schedule and you don't show up to the meeting. And then I'm like, okay, now I know why you used to be the chief of staff or why you used to be the agent for this person. I get it. I see what happens. And so, and everyone, they're on this, and I'm not knocking anyone for, their business models or what they're trying or what they are doing.
Right.
The classes, I don't want to take a master class. I don't want to take some pre-recorded class. I'm a consultant. I work professionally with organizations and decision makers within organizations. And so I deserve the same for myself. And I'm willing to pay for the service. That's the kicker. I'm willing to pay for the service and still can't find decent quality people who are not affiliated with your larger PR agencies. And so I just wanted to say that I can definitely relate to what you're saying about, sometimes you see people on social media because you find them on LinkedIn, Instagram, and they're saying this is what they do. But when it really comes down to the business, or even when you have a conversation with me, you'll know. I think it could be that I'm intimidating too. I'm not sure. But once you start having a conversation with someone, you kind of know where they're at. And so I've had a hard time with that. I figured my little way. I found a solution for it. But I just wanted to just kind of put my 2 cents in for that as well. We have In Your Ear Radio checking in from Las Vegas. Good morning and good afternoon to you. Yep, and Kevin says that book success is all about promotion. And so you are in addition to being a best-selling author, you are also a survivor of domestic violence. Can you tell us a little bit just about that time in your life and how you left, like your exit? Can you tell us a little bit about the exit from that?
So I've experienced domestic violence from the physical and sexual component. So when I was 14, I was at church and my choir director, he first started touching me. I came in and walked in on him doing this to somebody else she wasn't my family, but she was a foster kid that just came from a crazy situation, right? And she confided in me. So I walked in on him doing this to her. I was like, hey, thinking I'm stopping it. And he started touching me. I was like, okay, fine. He could touch me. I'm different, I'm stronger than that. And it kept going. And he actually raped me during the church service. And that really broke me. And I didn't realize that it broke me until like in my 30s, right? Because after that, it felt like every predator in my life that was around me started doing things to me. So I was raped several times after that by men that were supposed to be protecting me. And it was like they just felt it. But I really believe in pheromones. You attract things, right? And I believe during that time I was putting that out there. And so predators were coming to me. And so I was like, fine, I end up having sex with my children's father because I thought that was going to make me feel better. My 14-year-old mind, this is going to make this feeling go away, right? And I ended up getting pregnant. And I had my daughter 5 days after my 15th birthday. And she really was the tool that broke that from me. Like, I'm like, this is not going to happen to me again. And if it is, I'm going to have this out of it. Like, I had to figure out as a kid how to take control of it, right? And then, but so I'm thinking I've got that under control. And then I end up start getting physically abused later. And I honestly, I was 33 years old when I moved here. I moved here before 33, but when I was 33 is when, no, I was 33. I was 33 when I went to counseling though. And I'm thinking I'm counseling about my daughter, right? Being in Atlanta, uprooting, leaving my beautiful home, and we're here by ourselves trying to figure out her medical treatment. And she was like, "No, you got problems. Let's talk about this and let's unpack that." And that's how I figured it out. But it was really believing, like allowing myself to be vulnerable and acknowledging it. The first thing is, a lot of people don't acknowledge what their issue is. We put it under a rug, act like we're fine. But when you start accepting that, and that's what the first thing is, accepting the problem, right? And then it's fixing it. So we can't sit here and say we got these problems, right? Or we're perfect, but we don't, but we can't keep a man. We can't keep friendships. We can't keep these things. There's generational curses. There's something behind us that we're holding on to. So once you figure that out, that's going to make your whole life manifest. And that is really what brought me to having Girls Who Brunch, because I look at that and I think so many women are so far gone and we're stuck in that I'm okay. If we can break that pattern in these kids, then, and before they become adults and are broken and stuck in their ways, then I think we'll have a better society of women in the future.
Thank you for that. You mentioned, so I'm going to go back and mention a few things that you said. You were saying that it was like some type of energy or something that you were putting out. And it's interesting that you say that, because in asking you, so I didn't know that it was repeat offenders.
Yeah.
And, but something told me that we would have this conversation. And I recall I had a really close girlfriend in Las Vegas, and she, at that time, it was this consistent pattern of being with abusive and controlling men.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, okay, what are you telling them? What are you saying? What's happening to where it's consistently going? And so my advice was like, well, maybe, I didn't know if this was good advice at the time, but my advice was like, well, maybe don't tell them certain things about you. I think predators, they, like, you as a victim, it's just like psychology, right? Oh, you're alone. It's like joining a gang, right? You don't have family, you don't have you do not come from a healthy household, and people can pick up on that. And okay, so we'll be your family. Oh, this happened to you. Okay, so I'll be your protector. And you think that person is saving or has your best intentions in heart, but they are also themselves a predator, right?
Yeah.
So I just thought about that when you were speaking about that conversation I had with her, and kind of brought it up. And anyone in the audience, if this is bringing up any feelings or anything for you, please do share. And then you also mentioned Girls Who Brunch, or Girls Who Brunch Tour. Let's talk a little bit about that. So you sponsored, from my understanding, a lot of the girls. You mentioned that you had a girlfriend that was also being molested and sexually abused and assaulted, that she was in foster care. So is that your connection to wanting to sponsor girls in foster care?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm putting two and two together. Go ahead.
Yeah. So when I went to Charleston, South Carolina in 2015 and 16, and I was a keynote at this literary retreat, and one of the days was a Barnes and Noble day. And so we're in Barnes and Nobles, and this organization similar to mine, actually one of my partners now, she brought in these girls from the Gullah Islands. And these girls never seen Black authors in a bookstore. They never been in like a Barnes and Nobles. And so I just was drawn to them. I'm the youngest author that was there. And we're talking, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to get you guys something. They're hungry. So we go to Starbucks. They didn't know anything about Starbucks. So I was like, we'll get a pizza. I'll order a pizza. Some of these babies did not even know pizza came in a box. That was just like shocking to me, right? And I'm like, where are you guys from? You know, and the young lady who brought them, Miss Kathy, she stated that they were from the Gullah Islands, you know, and the things that they were going through. So that brought me back there. And I didn't know what this event was going to be. I came on a Saturday. I ended up meeting the superintendent of the school district. I met the lady that's over those community centers that just happened to be right next door to a school that they gifted me. And within a couple months, I serviced that first event. We had over 250 girls, but I made it a point that I was going to have girls there from the foster care. That girls, they have a high teen pregnancy rate, and they have organizations that these girls are in, like group homes for just teen pregnancy. So I brought them in, and I brought in girls rescued from the sex trade. And those are the organizations. I picked up the phone and cold called myself, and I was like, we're having this event. I will give you some free tickets. I always offer 10, but if they need more, then I'll give them more. And we had over 250 girls at that event. And I didn't know what I was going to do. So I just used the format of my book launches. I always have like I have panels, and I have performances and food. And so I put that in there, and then I had breakout sessions because they were kids. And that's it. That's where it came from. And who knew we were going to service this many more girls from that situation?
About 24,000 to date.
24,000 to date.
And you established or founded Girls Who Brunch Tour when? In what year? 2016. Wow, congratulations and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
So let's check in the chat. We have Amber. Amber is watching from Las Vegas. Hey, Amber, that's my cousin.
Hi, Amber.
And Kevin, when you were speaking about your experience, he was just saying, wow, in a church service. And this happened in Las Vegas, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so since then, was that person ever prosecuted? Like, whatever happened with that?
You know, the sad part is, no, he hasn't been prosecuted, but he's been in so many situations, not just with girls, but women. And it's like he moves. And the funny part is, he, with Girls Who Brunch, one of the young ladies that was there our first year was connected to him. He had was doing music lessons for her, and he was speaking to her, seeing me on the post, and then start talking to me in the post. So I thought I was over it, but when he reached out to me, I felt like a deer in the headlights. Like I was this little girl again. I couldn't really talk about it. Nobody really knew what was wrong with me. And I was just like, why does this man have so much power over me? But I ended up finding out that because he was the first person to do this to me. And so I've been asked by so many different people, like, well, why don't you lead an initiative to like get to, you know, try to arrest him and things. And I was like, that's just not my ministry. Number one, we're past the statute of limitation. And yes, I don't want this to happen to anybody else, but I feel like I'm helping more. I'm tripling the amount of people that I can help doing it this way by telling my story and being honest. And also, when, like I said, I called the girl's mother, who was a friend of mine, and I just was candidly open. And then she told me she felt something before, but, you know, because he was still doing these things, and he ended up being a pastor by that point, that she thought it was safe. And I think just having open dialogue sometimes is better. That's just not my ministry to go after him. You know, if somebody else went after him and they needed somebody to corroborate the story, like, yeah, this has happened to me, I would do that. But I feel like he's had so many situations and he just keeps getting off, that he's been in trouble past me. And I can't, that will break me, I think, if I was to do that, because just when dealing with him, the effect that he has on me. But I do feel that being open and honest with anybody who asks me, I will tell you, you know, and just the truth.
Do you feel comfortable with naming the person?
No, I don't feel comfortable with naming the person because of my status. I don't need anybody coming back to me trying to flip it on me with defamation and things like that. But I will name the person to a person directly. Like if we were having a dialogue, but I just wouldn't just like, oh, such and such, because especially in this era of social media and things like that, now they flip it and try to say, oh, this is defamation of character. Now this is a whole lawsuit. Now it's just.
Yeah. And so now, even though it has no standing, it's still, you still have to spend the time and the energy and the money for a lawyer for the different things like that. And it actually reminds me of Oprah.
Yeah.
When she remember when she was filming her show in Texas, and the reason that she was filming in Texas is because someone was talking about beef and how cows were raised or how the beef was manufactured or something. And she made a statement and she was like, wow, I'll never eat beef again. And that caused a huge lawsuit for her from the beef industry. Mm-hmm. So I definitely do understand that. And Kevin also said that his mom had him when she was 14 and that he is glad that she kept him. And we have my friend Lorena checking in from Chicago, and she says, I'm always amazed at how strong beings are in overcome and heal from trauma. And sometimes it's a healing process, and sometimes the healing process is lifelong. Mm-hmm. And as my previous guest, Lynn James would say, it's actually just, you figure out a way to cope, and you're still sometimes triggered, but it's a process. It's a process. Yes. And she's, and then also Lorena says, generational curses, they are real and can be broken. Thanks for speaking your truth. And just really quick, when you were speaking, I wanted to, in my head, to say something to parents and caregivers. Follow your instinct. Luckily, thank God, my child has not had any situations to where he was molested or anything like that, mm-hmm. or at least from my knowledge. But when he was younger, I was proactive. And my mother is very nice and sincere. And sometimes I think that my mother can be naive. Yeah. And to even just some of it, and I wasn't accusing anyone of anything, but I would be proactive. Mm-hmm. And so I would tell my son, you can go to church with her, but this is what you will not do. He's 6 years old. I said, I have $1. Okay. If you want candy, I will give you candy. We have a computer at home. You do not go into anyone's office. You do not sit on anyone's lap. We play games and we do things at home. You stay with your Nana at all times. Mm-hmm. And I explained to him that people will touch you and they will try things and they will try to see what they can get away with. And even if they did hurt you, they will tell you a story and say, if you tell anyone, if you tell your mom, I'm going to hurt her or I'll kill her or something like that. I would just be very proactive when he was young. And I said, do not believe them. And it's sad that we have to do that, but you have to be proactive with your children or the children that you're taking care of. And then also, it's just some stuff is just not appropriate. Even dating. I had this guy that I was dating, and we kind of separated our ways, but he loves my son. Mm-hmm. And so he said, when you're dating other men, let me tell you something. He says, it's not normal. He was like, no man should be bathing your child. He was like, most men do not feel comfortable being along with the mother's child at the beginning. And he's telling me, he's proactive, and he's just saying like, look, and sometimes we're just so naive and neglectful to our children and the children that we care for. And a lot of these things can be prevented, and we are the adults here. And these are not just conversations when they're younger, but also when they're older as well. So I just thought about that when you were speaking, and I just kind of wanted to say my 2 cents. Did you want to chime in before I go to the chat box?
I agree with that, and it is that connects to generational curses, because a lot of times we experience this. Our moms have experienced it, our aunts, our sisters, our cousins, everybody has experienced it, but nobody really talks about it, right? And or they say, like what you just said, don't sit on anybody's lap, or if Uncle such and such come around. But why would you have me around Uncle such and such? If you know he's this, why would you have him around me? But then the girl child or the boy, because boys are being touched as well, you're made to feel like it was your fault because you allow this to happen. But a child shouldn't even been put in that situation. And so yes, with the generational curses, I broke that with my children. They're 27 now. So the child I had at 15 is 27. She is a child protective services investigator in the city of Houston. She makes a lot of money. She's doing everything. But both of my girls, my youngest just graduated from college. She has a salon suite here in Atlanta, in Buckhead. Around the corner where one of those salons got, the massage parlors were shot up at. She just told me that this morning. And then she's about to go to graduate school, but they haven't experienced anything. And my daughter used to think I was so crazy because they were not allowed to go anywhere. Their friends can come over my house. I will take you out if you guys want to go out, but everybody's coming here. You're not staying the night. You're not doing anything. And she's like, Mommy, I'm not you. I remember we got into an argument. She's like, I'm not you. Nothing's going to happen to me. And I'm like, you don't know what's going to happen to you, sis. And now in her latter years, she's like, Mommy, thank you. But during that time growing up, she just thought I was just crazy. I'm like, nah, sis, no, they can come over here. My house is be full of girls, okay? But they can come here. I know the control I have in my home. You're not going anywhere. So, yeah, you have to be proactive. And that's the only way you're going to break the generational curse. And also talking. Quit acting like nothing happened to you. You need to let them know what happened and how to move forward. I tell my girls all the time, I'm not telling you what I'm going through in relationships or in business or in life because you're my best friend. I'm gossiping with you. I'm telling you this because I want you to learn from what I went through so you don't go through it.
Yes, thank you for that. And Violet, she says, this conversation is taboo for a lot of people. It shouldn't be. And I just thank you guys for sharing. So thank you. Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Okay. Kevin, he had a lot of different comments in the chat box. So he says, your mom is not that naive if she raised you. You are right. She did a really good job of raising me and loving me. So, but I'm just saying, like, she's very, she sees the best in everyone. That's what I meant to say, that she just sees the best in everyone. And so I'd like to start a sentence or a statement, and I'd like for you to finish it.
Okay.
I give myself permission to
be me.
And who are you?
I am love, I am light, and I'm beautiful.
Okay. And I think that's it. Oh, your book. You have a book coming out in August. And tell us about that.
My new book that's coming out is called What Was I Supposed to Do? It's about a young girl named Harper. It takes place in Las Vegas, and she's mixed race, and her mother, she's a product of a tricks baby. Her mother was a prostitute, so she never met her father. And I bring Girls Who Brunch into the book. Harper goes to jail because her mother's boyfriend raped her, and she ended up being pregnant by him, and she stabs him. And so she ends up being in jail. I meet her and I fell in love with her. I'm like, okay, I got to get her out. And it just tells a story of this young girl, of what low income girls go through, how girls get involved in the sex trade in different situations. And all this is going on during COVID. And at the end, all this stuff happens. I meet Harper again in jail because I got her out. But this time she's back. And I'm like, Harper, I couldn't find you. What's going on? And she's breaking down everything that's happened in this short period of time. And she was like, what was I supposed to do? And it's just an awareness book. It's an adult book, but it's just telling, like, because I go into Child Haven in Vegas. And so some people think, no, that Child Haven has a side that, for the abuse side, if the child is being removed, but they also have the side that these girls are being prosecuted. So there, I have Girls Who Brunch Tours there, and more than half of the girls there are certified as adults, right? So their charges, most of them, like I've seen some with the pimp's barcode on their face, and how did they get here? And so I wanted to bring humanity to these girls, because sometimes the charges that they have at the end, they're like, oh, they're too far gone, or this happened, but how did they get here? And even if they get out, what are we doing for them now to help them move forward after they get out? And so that's what this book is about. It's bringing in real life and what these girls are going through already, and now we're adding COVID to it.
Thank you for that. And another connection, I used to teach sex ed in Las Vegas, and so I went to at the time it was 5. It was so juvenile detention, probation, foster care, group homes, halfway houses, and so that was the audience and the girls that I worked with. And when I say 5, that was their section in juvenile detention, the wing number 5. So the girls were in 5, and you would see a lot of these in their mind. They're all psychologically, they are in the life at a young age, and so they are victims, but they're not treated, like you said, they're not being treated like victims. They're actually being prosecuted, and so I've met a lot of girls that were there on hold. And because you can't be released, and you're a parent or guardian, you can't be released, and so they're holding you there. And there was some girls that were from California, and California actually has one of the highest reported cases of sex trafficking. I think that's the highest state, actually, is California, based off of what I've read. And so they will be held there in Las Vegas, and like you said, you can see the tattoos, the branding. But just by me, even though I was there and I had a curriculum and I was an employee and I was there to talk about which was good, sexual health and healthy relationships and refusal skills and boundaries. And then even if you don't feel comfortable, or if you feel like you're in a dangerous situation, and you want to use a condom. We even talked about cheeking condoms and just different things, just like to be realistic for where they were at in their lives. But I would always get a question. So how did you get this job? Or how did you do this? They were so curious just about me, just in general. So how did you do this? So I commend you, and I thank you for mentoring young girls. And I never thought of myself as a mentor, but what naturally happens for me, it's more so college age and younger women that reach out to me, and I help them in whatever way that I can. Usually it starts out professionally. They're, how did you get there? How did you do this? And then we just kind of build a relationship from there. And then anyone that I meet, I try to work with in some capacity and bring opportunities to them and keep them in mind. So I think that's why I'm able to why I am blessed, and why doors continue to open for myself, And so I just think, everything is, just with the earth in general, everyone, it's reciprocity. It's, sometimes we have our attitudes about, it's about the bag, or I want to make my money, or time is money, and my goal is to do this, and so we try and hustle each other instead of focusing on just being our best selves and our best version of ourselves and giving our best selves, and just understanding that eventually things will come back to us. It comes back to us in ways that we can't imagine. And so, thank you everyone for watching and for tuning in. We appreciate your comments and your thoughts. Lorinda, she says, your book sounds interesting. Sexually exploited youth, so complex with many layers to address to combat that issue. And this is my perspective as a health and human service contract manager that managed service agreements with agencies to address sexual exploitation of youth. And in your radio, that's always been my argument. Who turned these girls out? Why aren't these adult men being held accountable? These girls need help, not punishment. Their lifestyle is punishment in itself.
So, to touch on that, so I have a new initiative I'm working on. So, we have a chapter of Girls Who Brunch in Chicago, and I partner with A Long Walk Home and all these different organizations in Chicago. There's a young girl. She's 10 years old. She was raped by 5 men. She found them off of a dating app. So the first time she was sexually raped when she was 7 years old. And so their biggest thing now is like, oh, it's her mother. It's her mother. Okay, yeah, her mother is a part of it, but that can't just be the blame of everything, right? So one of the guys, like one man, took her across country, cross state lines. Another man, he just was. There's been rape kits done on her, all this stuff. Only one rape kit that's been processed, and the guy ended up being a sex offender in Iowa. So he came up on the list. And so they finally just arrested him. The first thing they did was put her in a mental institute. And even there, she still was going online trying to find these people, because this is what she's trained. The thing is this, when these babies are broken, you're broken into doing this. If they're trained when they're babies to suck dick or whatever it is they're doing to these kids, right? Now you take them out of it. What rehabilitation are you doing to break that out of them? That's even if a girl gets kidnapped. They're running trains on her and stuff to break her. How are you going to get her back in now? See, people always...
It's called Stockholm Syndrome.
Exactly, Stockholm Syndrome.
And go ahead. No, I was just explaining to the audience. And so that's when the victim starts to sympathize and empathize with their perpetrator, and they start having affection for them. It's a psychology. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Exactly. So right now, that next week, March 24th, they're going to be doing a press conference demanding the city of Chicago, the mayor's office, and different people on what they're going to do to help this girl. One of the guys took her to this hotel, and I think the room was 324 that she was in. That's why the press conference is going to be on 324. So we're leading a movement on that to just bring awareness, trying to help her, trying to, because she's 10. And we need to get her the resources, but also prosecute these men. And let's figure out solutions on that make this not happen anymore. I'm so over that. It's like at the end, like, what can we do to make this preventative? And there's so many community partners that are in this. There's a reporter with CBS News in Chicago that has brought this situation to light, to the forefront, and I appreciate him. So we're all working collectively together, and just to bring awareness and like try to figure out how can we help her come back to society the right way, because she's 10.
Her, and then by you helping her, other girls and boys as well. And this is heartbreaking, and this is sad, and it's sick. That is sick. 5 men. Yeah, we have to, like, with the, even just YouTube. I went on YouTube yesterday, and I was actually searching for in content in Ethiopia regarding Tigray and the genocide that's happening there. And I was trying to search this video. So it was this, I guess they took it down, but there's this video of this, a lot of the women and the girls are being raped, and men were actually stuffing items in their vagina, like rocks, plastic, different things. And so I'm searching the content. And so I Googled doctor pulling items out of girls' vagina. I'm trying to find it. Mm-hmm. Girl, the keyword vagina, do you know what pops up on you? Not Pornhub or anything, but on YouTube. And our children have these smartphones, our 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds, and they download these apps. They know more. We find out about the apps and the things from them. And so you don't know what adult is communicating with them. The things that they're able to search and view and see, it's just kind of like we have to do better. Our phones and our computers are not babysitters. And if I were a molester, an abuser of children, I would definitely hang out in schools. I would be online. I would go to the park. I would be at the places where the kids are.
Yeah, and we have to make these, like even the dating site that she was on, we need to make those things more accountable as well, because there's no way that she is on here with her profile and her pictures, then that wasn't flagged and pulled down. Like this is crazy. And I think if we make more organizations and more companies accountable for this, then they're going to do more to, and that's going to stop it. You know, it's just it's crazy. But yeah, this has been I've been working on this for the last 2 weeks, and I'm like, whatever you guys want to do, we're actually going to have a panel, a virtual panel with some of the key people a part of it, and like Black and Missing Foundation in DC and things, and just trying to bring awareness to that day, but also the systematic issue that's going on right now, because we have to stop it. We have to make this go viral, and we have to figure out what can we do to stop it, not just for her, but for everybody.
Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you for this. This was I had no expectation of how our conversation was going to go, of just the basics, just kind of starting off on the surface level. But I really appreciate this conversation, everyone. I also interviewed a woman known as Monique, and she was an abused, and later she found out as an adult that she was an abducted child. And so she was a missing person and didn't know, but she's suffered all of this abuse through her life. And she was talking about human trafficking and missing persons and sex trafficking. And basically she was saying, like, if you have a zip code, it's happening in your area. It's happening. So we definitely, I know we get distracted and we stay busy on things, and it's a lot of things that are going on in our society. Another thing that I wanted to kind of just put out there, as it relates to the violence that's happening towards Asian Americans, but it's happening towards people of color all over this country. And we're thinking they're isolated incidents, but they're not. And so one thing that I would encourage people to do is to, and I'm going to say the term now, but take white supremacy out of your vocabulary. Why are we referring to some race or a group of human beings as supreme? That's that label right there. That's not, no, they are terrorists. They are domestic terrorists. They're hate groups. They are all of the above. They're actually terrorists. It's not even, yeah. So just that word, just supremacy, there's no such thing. Exactly. And so I just, it's a lot of stuff that we have going on, but definitely unity, keep educating each other, keep educating ourselves, and just also to think positive and put the positivity out in the world, because it comes back, and we need that. And I honestly believe that the earth, the universe, just in general, what we put out there is what we get back. So we got to start being a little bit more positive and proactive too. And we feel uncomfortable. We are uncomfortable. Everyone wants to just live comfortably, have a nice house, car, be able to travel, have some money in the bank, and get to hang out. And we want to do this. Yes, but at the same time, we do have some real issues going on, and we all have to do our part. And we don't have to you can't save everyone. You can't do everything. So you just do your part. But if everyone does their part, and like you mentioned earlier, what your calling is, the Girls Who Brunch, and you're even just through your writing and helping other authors, and you serving as an advocate and philanthropist, that's your gift and that's your calling. So we all have our different way, and we just need to tap into that. So everyone, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. We have more comments, and I want to definitely acknowledge them. So just bear with me for like 2 more minutes. I know you have to go. Okay. We have Terrell Patterson in Baltimore. Hey, Terrell. He's a former guest as well, and he penned his first book, Addicted to Lies. And he says, the beacon of light from strong queens like the both of you are what gives these young, broken queens hope by sharing your messages, by sharing your mess through your message. On behalf of Kings, I do my part to protect our queens. Thank you so much for that. And Amber, she says, there is shame you carry when you are abused as a child. This shame carries into adulthood and shapes your relationships until you acknowledge and address it. Break the curse. And Falcon is in East Africa, and he says, thanks for this great discussion. And thank you, Falcon, for always tuning in. And Falcon, also, I know that you have your platform and your network there. So if ever you want to invite me to serve as a guest speaker or a guest, and then also Nicola, definitely reach out to us. Let's network. Let's keep growing our networks. Everyone, I am Shawnta Jackson, and thanks for watching. You can always learn more about me at shawntajackson.com. Please do visit Nicola's website, iamnicola.com, to learn more about her, and make sure you purchase her upcoming book that's coming out in August. And then also, if you want to learn more about Girls Who Brunch Tour, visit girlswhobrunchtour.com to register your girl or your girls that you work with for the upcoming events. And then also, if you are interested in serving as a facilitator or guest speaker for Girls Who Brunch Tour, please do contact, actually visit the website, and there is a form and there's a method for you to be able to submit for yourself. And Girls Who Brunch Tour does right now traveling virtually across the country, but there is opportunities for in-person as well in the near future. So please do. And again, thank you, Nicola, for joining us. We appreciate your time. Thank you, everyone on Facebook and YouTube. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.